Kia ora tēnā tātai katoa, te mihi tuatahi kia o tātai mana whenua, nā koutou noe I huaki ana tēnei huhuinga nā tātai ki te piki o te ora, te whakaro nui kia rātou mā kua hinga, kia raro te ringa kaha o Aitua, o tātai nei whananga ki Gaza, putino I Paratilia I tēnei o nā wā no reire mihi ana. Mihi ana ki te katoa I porotihi, I porotu, te katoa, te mutu, kia rangona rātou mai tēnei kokona o te ao, nō reira, tēnei ka mihi ki te raona āhuatanga. Kia ora everyone, I just wanted to acknowledge our mana whenua who open up our space in a good way, and acknowledging those people that have passed under the ringakaha o Aitua, under what's happening in Gaza, and I am still mindful of the tens of thousands of people that have died over the year. We are talking about grandparents, we are talking about mothers, fathers, sons and daughters, entire families who have died, while the governments of the Western world in particular took this long to get a ceasefire, and I acknowledge them. My name is Teanau Tuiono. I am our spokesperson for foreign affairs from the Green Party, and once again it is good to be here with the progressive voices here in Wellington. I want to mihi to you for continuing to show up, to show that important solidarity, so that our whānau over in Gaza can hear us all the way here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. That is just so incredibly important. I also want to acknowledge our Palestinian whānau that are here today, continuing to hold space. I know this year has been painful. So he mihi tēnei kia koutou, nā rongi te aroha, nā rongi te manaakitanga, nā rongi te whakaaro, te iwi taketake, e aro ana ki te iwi taketake. And so I acknowledge you. I acknowledge the connections that you have to the families throughout Palestine, throughout Gaza, and also the connections to the experiences that colonised people all around the world feel and notice and see of what has been happening over the past year and more over in Gaza. We're here in the Greens. We absolutely support the calls that have been outlined around supporting UNRWA. It's so incredibly important. That very particular and special work that UNRWA does around maintaining essential health services, education services. No other group can do that. No other group is mandated to do that. And I acknowledge what was said earlier around UNRWA being the collective will of the United Nations, of the member states, in terms of what is happening in Palestine. And for Israel to ban UNRWA, for me, it echoes the incredibly shallow way that they have always approached the peace process. It's all very good and well to say that they are moving forward progressively, but in order for Palestine to be rebuilt in a speedy way and to allow humanitarian aid to get into Gaza, it requires UNRWA to be supported. So we absolutely support the call from this Ropu and from Ropus across the motu and around the world to make sure that we do everything that we can to stop Israel's ban on UNRWA. And the Greens would say we need to go even further. We need to increase the funding to UNRWA. We need to increase the funding to UNRWA as well. And as humanitarian aid, as we put pressure, we get that much needed humanitarian aid for the reconstruction of Gaza. I think an incredibly important part of that is to ensure that it is in line with what the people want. It is in line with what Palestinians want. It is in line with what the people of Gaza want. Not in line with what Israel wants. Not in line with what the member states want. It must be in line with what Palestinians want. And part of that should be about making sure that Palestinians can return to their homeland. That people in Gaza can return to Gaza. That needs to be at the heart of the reconstruction process that must happen immediately. We have also called for sanctions to be put on Israel. We've got a members' bill which outlines that. There is a precedent actually in Parliament, and I was there in Parliament when unanimously Parliament passed sanctions against Russia for the invasion of the Ukraine. So this has been done before. This has been done before. And there are some that will say, you know what? Well, we can't push sanctions because Palestine isn't a state. Well, the other thing that the Greens want is for this country to recognise Palestine as a state. To recognise Palestine as a state. Because if we recognise Palestine as a state, then that argument that we cannot pass sanctions against Israel is nullified, and sanctions must be placed against Israel for the genocide that they have been doing in Gaza. Also, it is incredibly important to support the efforts of other countries. We all know that that South Africa has a case about genocide at the ICJ. This is something that the New Zealand government can support. This is something that the New Zealand government can support. Because if anybody knows what apartheid looks like, it's South Africa. Epifano, there is so much more work to do. There's so much work to do. There's so much more solidarity that needs to be expressed. But I am happy today, under this hot, warm Wellington sun, that we have gathered here today in solidarity with each other, but also with the people of Palestine. Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Kia kaha, Epifano.